Suddenly, my mother-in-law stood up and announced loudly, "A wife with only a high school education and a single parent isn't good enough for my son. I'm going to have him marry someone well-bred, so get out." I was taken aback for a moment, but then smiled slightly. "All right, then." I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared from a drawer. "By the way, since I've been paying the mortgage, there's no money for property division, and since this house is in my name, there's nothing I need to give you." "Is that so?" "Well, I don't really care." I left with just the essentials. The next day, my father called Lucas. When Lucas answered warily, my father cheerfully said, "Thanks, now my daughter can take over the company." "Huh, what?" "My name is Amelia Jones. I'm 32 years old. I got married 6 years ago and live with my husband and mother-in-law. I met Lucas 9 years ago at a bar where I was working part-time. He was a regular, always friendly with the manager, and often chatted with me. Lucas is 3 years older than me and works at a company near the bar. He looked sharp in his suit, and I thought he was very handsome, especially when he loosened his tie as soon as he sat down. "I'm so tired." He must have had a tough day at work. As soon as Lucas sat at the counter, he slumped forward. "How was today?" "I endured the whole day looking forward to stopping by here on my way home." "You love beer, don't you? I'll get you a cold one right away." No, what I'm looking forward to isn't the beer, it's you, Amelia." "Huh. The other day when you had a day off, he was complaining, 'Why is she off?'" "What? Hey, don't tell her that. She'll hate me." "No, I wouldn't hate you." My feelings were obvious as I blushed. "Really? Can I hope for something then?" Lucas sat up quickly, and his words made me blush even more. "Lucas, if you're teasing me." "No, I'm serious. That's how we started dating, and after 3 years we got married. We rented a 2-bedroom condo and started living together. But in our 2nd year of marriage, Lucas's father passed away due to illness. The death of my kind father-in-law was a big shock to our family, especially his wife. My mother-in-law was deeply saddened, and with his passing, she became even more attached to Lucas, her only child. "Hey, Lucas, we have the life insurance money your father left us, so let's take this opportunity to rebuild the house into a 2-family home and live together. I'll pay the down payment for you." "Well, I guess." Lucas tilted his head in thought and glanced at me. "What do you think, Amelia?" "Oh, I'm not asking Amelia. I'm talking to you, Lucas. But Amelia will be living with us too. Amelia, do you have any objections to living with me?" "No, not really. It would be a lie to say I had no objections, but when I decided to marry Lucas, an only child, I knew I would have to live with his mother someday. I was prepared for this. However, I never imagined it would happen so soon." "But, Mom, can you and Amelia get along?" "That's right. That was our biggest concern about living together. I knew she disliked me. Currently, we live separately, and she only visited when Lucas was home because we hardly spent time alone together. It wasn't an exaggeration to say there hadn't been any major conflicts." "Oh, well, what do you mean? We're getting along fine, aren't we, Amelia?" Well, I nodded vaguely, tilting my head slightly. From the way I nodded, no one would think we were getting along well. "Okay, here are the 2 conditions for living together. You'll pay the down payment and you'll get along with Amelia." My mother-in-law's face briefly showed irritation at Lucas, who held up 2 fingers as he spoke, but she probably realized it would be a problem if she argued and couldn't live with us, so she forced a smile. "Of course, those conditions are fine." All right. Thus, she paid the down payment to rebuild the house, and Lucas would handle the mortgage. Although the house was still in my mother-in-law's name, it would eventually be passed to Lucas, so there were no worries about money. Living with my mother-in-law was depressing, but after that, she started being kind to me. "Amelia, what do you think the kitchen should look like? Since we'll both be using it, let's decide together. We had a lot of fun planning the layout of the new house together. Looking back, this was probably the happiest time in my married life. But once the house was completed and we started living together, her attitude gradually changed. "Oh my, what's for dinner tonight? It's all meat dishes. Are you trying to make things hard for me with my weak teeth?" "No, it's not like that. Lucas requested this, and the meat is cooked soft enough for you to eat." And just because it's a request, you should still consider Lucas's health. That's a wife's duty, isn't it? "I'm sorry." Once we started living together, she constantly made snide remarks. "Amelia, clean more thoroughly. I paid the down payment for this house, and Lucas is paying the mortgage." "I was just vacuuming normally." "Are you talking back to me? You were banging the vacuum cleaner against the walls." "I didn't do it that hard." "You're lucky to live in a nice house without paying a dime. At least treat it well so we can live comfortably, okay?" I realized she truly disliked me. No matter what I did, she was never satisfied. Like father, like daughter, she spat out and slammed the door to her room. I knew why she disliked me. She didn't like that I only had a high school education and that my father wore work clothes when we first met. But it wasn't because my father was irresponsible or looked down on her family. My father runs a construction company, and unfortunately, there was a problem at the site on the day both families were supposed to meet. He was late, and I guess he thought it would be worse to keep everyone waiting, so he came directly from the site to the restaurant where we were waiting. "I'm sorry for keeping you waiting." My father wiped his sweat, but my mother-in-law wrinkled her nose as if looking at something dirty. Lucas also furrowed his brows and looked at my father with an annoyed expression. I knew how hard my father worked, and I understood that he went to the site out of a strong sense of responsibility. But I also thought it was understandable for Lucas to be upset, given the circumstances. After all, my father-in-law showed up late and in work clothes to an expensive restaurant we had splurged on for the occasion. But only my father-in-law stood up and kindly welcomed my father. "Thank you for coming. Please have a seat." "I'm so sorry for coming like this." No, it's not like you came in dirty clothes and the restaurant won't mind." He treated my father with great respect. "The site must have felt reassured with yourself there." "Yes, thanks to that, it didn't turn into a big issue." "That's good. Lucas, when you move up and have subordinates, make sure to follow his example. Those in higher positions must protect those below them." "That's right. I'll learn from you a lot, Lucas. I'm really sorry for being late." Thanks to my father-in-law, the atmosphere softened. I still think my father-in-law was a wonderful person. "By the way, I heard you run a construction company," my mother-in-law said as we continued our meal. "Why did Amelia only finish up to high school?" "Mom," Lucas tried to stop her in a low voice, but his mother insisted. "I need to know about the woman marrying my precious son." "Well, it was right after my wife passed away, and at that time the company was much smaller. We couldn't afford to send Amelia to higher education. She's had to endure a lot, but she's grown up to be a hard-working and thoughtful daughter." "Yes, that much is clear just by looking at her," my father-in-law smoothly added. "I'm proud of my son for choosing such a wonderful woman." "That's right. Amelia works at the bar at night and helps at the construction company during the day." My father chuckled at Lucas's words. "Indeed, she might have more grit than any other young lady around." "Dad, what do you mean by grit?" My mother-in-law seemed dissatisfied, but thanks to my father-in-law, neither my father nor I felt ashamed or intimidated, and we enjoyed the meal and conversation. But with my father-in-law gone now, my mother-in-law says whatever she wants. Listen to this. Amelia doesn't even know how to fold laundry properly. What? Fold in laundry? She never listens, so tell her off for me. No way. Lucas let out a big sigh at his mother. Mom, I told you one of the conditions for living together was to get along with Amelia. As long as the laundry isn't folded all wrinkly, it's fine. Cut her some slack." "Oh my, are you taking Amelia's side?" At first, Lucas defended me, but the more he did, the more she stubbornly pointed out my flaws and complained to him. Lucas, tired of hearing it so often, started blaming me more and more. Lucas has always been easily influenced by others. When my father-in-law was alive, it was fine because he balanced out my mother-in-law's influence. But now Lucas was more susceptible to my mother-in-law's influence alone. "Amelia, just listen to what Mom says a little more." I do listen, but she says different things on different days. She said one thing before and now says the opposite. Every day I'm tired from work. I just want to relax at home. Okay, I'll try. I was trying, but my mother-in-law's complaints never stopped. Lucas started coming home later and bringing less money. It was no surprise since he was out drinking almost every night. He didn't want to be with us on weekends either, so he started going out, and my mother-in-law, feeling neglected, began going out with her friends more often. "Amelia, I'm going to have lunch with some friends and do some shopping. Can you give me some pocket money?" "What again?" "If I don't leave the house, I'll end up fighting with you, Amelia. It's suffocating staying here all the time." It was as if she was saying it was my fault, even though she was the one constantly criticizing my way of doing things. Her remarks were incredibly harsh. If only I hadn't paid the down payment for this house, I wouldn't have to ask my daughter-in-law for money. I bit my tongue and handed her $500 from my wallet. "I just gave you $300 the other day, so I can't give you any more this month." "Fine, you're so stingy. It's Lucas's money anyway, so don't act all high and mighty." It was frustrating to always give her money, but I was grateful she went out. After quickly finishing the housework, I retreated to my room. Listen to this. That day Lucas came home early, and the three of us were having dinner together. My mother-in-law spoke to Lucas while gobbling down her food. "Brown's son is getting married." "Yeah," Lucas gave a half-hearted reply, but my mother-in-law continued. "And his fiancée works at a top company. I ran into them today while out with him. She was so polished and spoke so intelligently. I'm so jealous. I wish we had a daughter-in-law like that." Even though I was sitting right there, my mother-in-law was being openly spiteful. "A career woman, huh? Is that what you'd prefer, Mom?" Lucas muttered. "Well, Amelia is far from fashionable or professional." "Yeah, I guess. I usually dressed for practicality. Wearing a suit makes housework difficult." "Yeah, I guess." My mother-in-law snorted at Lucas's responses and continued eating in silence. One day my phone rang. It was a call from Williams. Williams is the office lady who has been supporting my father for a long time. The CEO suddenly collapsed. "What?" I called my mother-in-law, who was out, and rushed to the hospital. In the hospital room, my father was lying in bed with Williams by his side. "Dad, you scared me." Thankfully, his life wasn't in danger, but the doctors said his heart was weak. "Lately, I've had trouble sleeping. Sorry for worrying you." "Really? Don't push yourself too hard. You're not young anymore." I was half crying as I scolded him. My father had to stay in the hospital for a while, so I went back home to get his things. After gathering what he needed, I returned to the hospital. "I'm sorry it's getting late. You should go home." "I know, but I'll stay with him." "Amelia, no, I can't ask you to do that. We've known each other for a long time. Don't worry." "Okay then, I'll take you up on your offer." "Sure, take care." I figured it would be fine since I had already informed my mother-in-law and headed home. "Amelia, why isn't dinner ready?" As soon as I walked in, my mother-in-law confronted me, and I couldn't help but respond. "Huh? I told you I was going to the hospital because my father collapsed. Yes, I heard that, but what were you planning to do about dinner? I felt the most anger toward my mother-in-law that I ever had. At times like this, my mother-in-law could have prepared dinner. Even takeout or eating out would have been fine. I didn't even feel like responding and walked past my mother-in-law into my room. She didn't ask about my father's condition, but was only concerned about their dinner. The thought of divorce crossed my mind due to her inhumanity. Recently, Lucas had also been making condescending remarks towards me, influenced by my mother-in-law. I started questioning whether I should stay in this house. I even got the divorce papers, but couldn't bring myself to say it out loud, and I was struggling with my feelings. I'm home. Lucas came home early for a change, and I went to the entrance. Hey, next to Lucas was a young woman I had never seen before. Good evening. The woman in the suit greeted me with a smile and then gave me a disdainful look before smirking. She said she had something to talk about, so we went to the living room. My mother-in-law looked surprised at the woman, and at Lucas's urging, she sat down on the sofa. This is Camilla Smith. Well, she's someone I'm seeing. What? Excuse me. I'm sorry, Amelia. I want a divorce. Before I could respond, my mother-in-law spoke up. Don't be ridiculous about this divorce. I looked at my mother-in-law incredulous, thinking she was defending me for a moment. But of course, that wasn't the case. Instead, she said, it would be embarrassing for the neighbors if Lucas is cheating. It's your fault, Amelia. You're so unattractive that he had to find a mistress. What? I was about to say, shouldn't you be blaming him instead of me? When the mistress chuckled. Indeed, not only are you over 30, but you're also such an unappealing wife. Her words made Lucas burst into laughter. Come on, don't be so harsh. Of course you can't compare to her. Camilla is the daughter of the CEO of the company I deal with. The CEO's daughter. Yes, my father runs a company. When I heard the company's name, I was a bit surprised. My mother-in-law's mouth also dropped open. Oh my, that's quite a well-known company around here. With eyes shining, my mother-in-law stood up and declared loudly to me, a wife with only a high school education and a single parent isn't suitable for my son. I'm going to have him marry a well-bred mistress, so get out. I was stunned for a moment, but then I smiled slightly. Good. Well then, I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared from the drawer. Why do you have those? Well, whatever. Perfect timing. Lucas eagerly signed the divorce papers. Oh, and just so you know, since I've been paying off the mortgage, there's no money for property division. Yes, and since this house is in my name, there's nothing I have to give you. Well, I don't really care. Oh, you don't have to say that. Come on, poor people are just like that. While I packed my things upstairs, I occasionally heard the laughter of the three of them from downstairs. Each time I heard their laughter, I let out a small laugh myself and packed only the essentials into my suitcase. Before leaving the house, I saw my father-in-law's photo. The only regret I had was that I would no longer be related to him. Thank you for always standing up for me. I'm sorry. From now on, I'll visit your grave. After expressing my gratitude, I left the house late at night. With my luggage, I returned to my parents' home and the next day headed to the hospital to see my father. Dad, I got a divorce, so it's okay about what we talked about before. As soon as I entered his private hospital room, I told him and my father was surprised. What? What happened? I told him about my mother-in-law's treatment of me and Lucas's affair. I see. You went through a lot. I'm sorry I couldn't help. No, I didn't want to worry you. I'm actually relieved to be free from those people. When I chuckled, my father laughed too. Oh, the nurse said I could use the phone in this private room. My father smiled mischievously as he took out his phone. What are you going to do? Well, it's Saturday, so Lucas is off work, right? I want to thank him. My father put the phone on speaker so I could hear and called Lucas. Hello. It was the day after his wife had left that Lucas received the call from my father. Lucas must have thought he would get scolded. He answered the phone cautiously, but his father spoke cheerfully right away. Thank you. Now my daughter can take over the company. What? Apparently, Lucas's mother-in-law was also listening to the call on the other end. Lucas heard her gasp in surprise alongside his own reaction. The truth was, on the day his father collapsed, he had asked Lucas to become the next CEO of the company. If I took over the company, I wouldn't be able to take care of things at home, and I was worried about how to explain it to Lucas and my mother-in-law. But now I don't need to. Instead, my father will explain it to me. Oh, but it's just a construction company, right? Go ahead, take it, Lucas said, and his father and I couldn't help but laugh. Sorry for greeting you over the phone like this, but thank you for taking care of my daughter, his father said in a low voice, but Lucas didn't seem to understand the significance of his words. No problem, he replied lightly and hung up. Raised by such a respectable father, yet he's a disappointing son. Yes, I think so too. His mother's influence was too strong. Poor guy. That will be his downfall. Yes, with me as CEO, a lot of interesting things are going to happen. When I was in high school, his construction company was so small that he couldn't even afford to send me to higher education. However, it's now a large construction company with annual sales of $7 million. My father and I haven't forgotten those difficult times. We don't make unnecessary purchases or dress extravagantly. We think that's important, but Lucas and his mother-in-law are different. We just couldn't get along with them. From there, things moved quickly. Within a month, a shareholders' meeting was held. A resolution was passed at the board of directors meeting, and it was officially decided that I would take over the company. After that, the rounds of greetings to business partners began. One of the many companies we visited. Amelia, you've grown up. Long time no see. I greeted CEO Smith, who welcomed us into the reception room with the executives with a cheerful smile. I greeted him with a smile and then turned to the woman standing behind him. Camilla, wasn't it? It's been a while, huh? She didn't seem to recognize me in my makeup and suit. We've met before. I'm Lucas Jones's ex-wife. What? No way. As I narrowed my eyes and smiled, Lucas's lover opened her eyes wide in shock. Her face turned pale almost comically fast. What is the meaning of this? Her father, the CEO, turned to her, unable to speak properly. I explained how I knew her. The CEO's face turned red with anger, and the executives began to murmur. How could you do this to the daughter of a benefactor? Hearing those words, I mentally thanked him. He did not disappoint my expectations. I've told you many times, our company grew thanks to Amelia's father, and now you repay that kindness with betrayal. But I didn't know. I never imagined his wife was the daughter of such a respectable construction company CEO. She didn't look like it. Was it because I was just an over-30 woman with no charm, as you said? No way. You couldn't have said something so rude. The CEO was trembling with anger. I'm so sorry, Camilla apologized to me. Then her father said, My daughter was extremely rude. I'm very sorry. I interrupted his apology and said, She's an adult now. She's old enough to take responsibility for her actions. Yes, he looked at his daughter. Camilla was reprimanded by her father and fired in front of the executives. After that, Camilla apparently separated from Lucas. Lucas still needs to pay for the mortgage on the house. He must have been in quite a bind, but I never imagined he would come to my house. What? I have nothing to say to you, too. I said through the intercom, and Lucas and his mother desperately brought their faces close to the camera. Just for a moment. Just listen to us for a moment, Amelia. We came to apologize to you. Please, we want to apologize to you face to face. If we make a scene here, it'll bother you too, right? I don't mind calling the police right now. Don't say that. Just one word. Let us say one word of apology. Please open the door. I sighed at his mother's fake tears. To make sure they never wanted to come back again, I opened the large gate and let them into the entrance. What a house. When I came to ask for your hand, your father was living alone in a small old house. Oh, that was because both the main office and the house were being rebuilt at the time. He rented a room near the company. Oh, I see. Also, no matter how small or old, a house is still a house, and it's rude to the people living there. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's still a house. As the two naturally tried to follow me in, I held up my hand. Stop. I'm only letting you into the entrance. At my stern look, the two exchanged glances. I only let you in because it would bother the neighbors. I have no intention of letting you into this house. So, how do you plan to apologize? I'm sorry for not knowing you were the daughter of a CEO with an annual revenue of $7 million. I heard from Kamala. I didn't know, but now I realize how rude I was. I heard the allowance I received from you was actually from Amelia. Was it money your father gave you? It's very kind of your father to give you money for allowances. No, that was money I earned myself. What? You earned it yourself, but you were at home except when you went shopping. Yes, that's right. After I graduated high school, I worked at my father's company. I gained over 7 years of office experience, then I became an architect. You mean you were working from home? Yes, I was doing design work as an architect for my father's company. Someone wasn't contributing much to the household finances and kept asking for money to go out. I see you were supporting the household behind the scenes. Thank you, Amelia. As expected, Lucas chose well when he married you. I sighed at my mother-in-law's unchanged way of thinking. Is that all? Please don't visit us again. Wait, hold on. What? The conversation is over. Actually, I was caught having an affair with a client's daughter at work and had to quit my job. Now I'm out of money. You're living in such a grand house, you must have plenty of money, right? Could you lend us some? In the end, their apology was just an excuse. Their real aim was to ask for money. I firmly refused. But if things stay like this, we can't pay the mortgage. Why should I help you? No, we're just asking to borrow it. I'll definitely pay it back once I find a new job. Yes, Lucas is very capable. He can get a high-paying job anywhere. So do you have any job prospects? Well, the thing is, I can't find anything that suits me at this point. You're still being picky. No, it's not that. It just has to be the right job for me. I've had enough. This is a waste of time. Selling that house should give you enough to pay off the remaining mortgage. Yes, but that's a last resort. Amelia, how about it? Won't you take Lucas back? I really think you're the only one for him. Yeah, now that I think about it, Kamala was just a young and foolish woman. Amelia, you're the one for me. Exactly, you two are perfect together. That's disgusting. I pointed to the front door, addressing my mother-in-law's saccharine tone and Lucas's flattery. Can you leave in 10 seconds, or I'll call the police. From now on, communicate through my lawyer. No way. Wait, Amelia. 10, 9, 8, 7. As I started the countdown and took out my phone, the two of them scrambled out of the entrance. In the end, Lucas and his mother couldn't pay the mortgage and had to sell a house. Now they're living in the old house they once mocked, so they must be truly out of money. Lucas, too full of himself, failed to find a new job and is now working night shifts at a factory. For some reason, he contacts me and complains about being mocked and called a fool. And my mother-in-law started working as a building cleaner. Both are respectable jobs, but they feel miserable because they used to look down on such work. Hey, how about getting remarried? That's a funny joke. Don't call me again. Goodbye. After hanging up on Lucas, I blocked his number. My father recovered and retired, becoming the chairman. Now he enjoys a peaceful and relaxed life. With support from those around me, I'm having fulfilling days as the CEO.